Hello, everyone. I'm Terry Moran. Thanks for streaming with us. President Biden is visiting hard-hit Kentucky today to tour the devastation from that deadly tornado outbreak. He's set to meet with local leaders there, and he will be briefed on the situation, and we'll bring you that live. Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer convicted of murder in the George Floyd case, is in federal court today for a change of plea hearing, which means he may not face federal trial in January, though he may spend more time in prison. Chauvin pleaded guilty today to violating Floyd's civil rights and to violating the civil rights of a juvenile in 2017. These charges have prompted federal prosecutors to recommend a sentence of up to 25 years for Chauvin. Former President Trump's chief of staff, Marl Meadows, is now facing charges of criminal contempt of Congress. The House voted to hold Meadows in criminal contempt for defying a subpoena, refusing to testify to the House committee investigating the January 6th insurrection. The Justice Department will now decide whether or not to prosecute Meadows. And for the first time ever, a woman will run the nation's largest police force. Keechant Sewell has been named police commissioner by New York City Mayor-elect Eric Adams. She is the first woman to take charge of the NYPD in its 176-year history. So good luck to her. Now to the concerns. New concerns about the Omicron variant. The number of cases in the U.S. has increased sevenfold in the last week. At least 35 states and Washington, D.C. are now reporting confirmed cases of the variant. Studies confirming that although more transmissible, people are less likely to be hospitalized with this Omicron variant. The U.S. is now averaging 116,000 new cases per day. That's up 48% over the past month. The rise in cases has forced Cornell University to shut down its campus. ABC's Trevor Ault is there with more.
The Omicron variant already taking hold in the U.S. and around the globe, prompting this stark warning from the World Health Organization.
Omicron is spreading at a rate we have not seen with any previous variant.
The WHO cautioning even if this variant is more mild than Delta or other previous strains, the sheer volume of cases could overwhelm healthcare systems. Just in the past week, Omicron infections in the U.S. have increased sevenfold. The CDC now meeting to discuss possible scenarios in which the new variant can spread. And Dr. Anthony Fauci telling CNN the booster will help as Omicron certainly becomes the dominant strain in the U.S.
The vaccines that we use, the regular 2-dose mRNA, don't do very well against infection itself.
Potential Omicron outbreaks are already bubbling up. Cornell University entering a level red alert, shutting down its campus, moving all finals online after this week more than 900 students tested positive for COVID, with university officials saying a very high percentage are Omicron cases. And other COVID outbreaks are impacting the sports world. Dozens of athletes from the NBA, NHL, and NFL getting infected. 13 players on the Los Angeles Rams added to the COVID list in just the past 3 days.
We're in intensive protocols. This has definitely been the most uniquely challenging situation we've dealt with COVID over the last 2 years.
In just an hour before tip-off, Brooklyn Nets star James Harden placed in COVID protocols, the 7th Net to do so during the past 2 days. America now surpassing 800,000 lives lost to the virus, as hospital admissions have risen more than 14% in the past week, and pediatric admissions are up nearly 24%.
This is why it's so important for those kids that are eligible to finally get vaccinated. The vaccine currently still is our best weapon to preventing spread among our kids and really across the community.
And the U.S. hit that awful milestone of 800,000 COVID-19 deaths, essentially exactly 1 year after the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine was administered. Now, President Biden is calling on Americans to honor those lives lost with action, getting vaccinated, getting your booster shot, and continuing to mask up with this new variant. Terry?
Trevor Ault at Cornell University, hard hit. Thanks very much for that. Let's bring in infectious disease specialist Dr. Simone Wilds for more. And doctor, thanks for being with us. Let's start, though, with that grim milestone. More than 800,000 lives lost in the United States to COVID-19. And think back to when it began. Could you have imagined this? What does it say about this, and what do we need to do?
Terry, it's really unfortunate that we're at 800,000 deaths in the U.S. I mean, it really breaks my heart. And I think we have to do everything we can to make sure we protect ourselves. I mean, I might sound like a broken record. I think we really have to encourage everyone to get their vaccines if they haven't done so yet, your boosters, getting your children vaccinated. And of course, the things we've been talking about, wearing your mask, social distancing, and washing your hands. I think we have to continue these measures if we all want to stay healthy and well.
And it's in our hands to do that. So the World Health Organization is warning that this new Omicron variant is spreading at a higher rate than any previous variant, although it does seem to cause less severe disease. So, it's a new thing in the world once again. How concerned do you think people should be?
We're very concerned about this new variant. We've seen it's more transmissible, and the symptoms are a lot milder. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to get more people that are going to be hospitalized. That means more people that are going to require more services in the hospital, which puts more burden on the healthcare system. And of course, that might result in more death. So we have to be very concerned, and again, just take all the precautions we can to make sure that we can get through this safely.
Well, Dr. Anthony Fauci suggests that 2 doses may not be as effective against infection from the Omicron variant. That apparently the studies are showing that the booster is necessary. So what should people do?
Well, Terry, we do know that the data shows that the 2-dose vaccine doesn't work quite as well with regards to protecting us from this variant. However, what we are hoping that when you get your booster shot, that will increase your antibody levels and thus help you to fight the infection if you get it. So again, bottom line, get your booster shot if you haven't done so yet, because we want to make sure that as this variant spreads, that we have many people protected.
Well, and here's the question now. We're 2 years into this pandemic, and this Omicron variant is so transmissible. You look what's happening in Cornell. Look at the professional sports leagues that Trevor was talking about. So what should businesses and institutions do? Do we have to go back to locking down? Are people going to accept that? We have this wildly transmissible virus. Is that what we're going to have to do, do you think?
Terry, I don't think we're going to go back to locking down. I think we're going to have to reevaluate the protocols that we have in place. There are some that might need some adjustments, and I think people have to be open to making those adjustments and providing more testing, making sure that we give patients on individuals opportunity to get their vaccines if they haven't done so. I am sure hoping that we don't go back to going to a lockdown, because that would be very distressing to all of us.
We all feel the same way. We all have to pull together to help each other out as we get through this, once again, another tough passage ahead. Dr. Simone Wilds, thanks very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Meanwhile, a major U.S. company is cracking down on unvaccinated employees. Grocery giant Kroger says it's taking steps to protect the rest of its employees and its customers. Rebecca Jarvis has the details. Hi, Rebecca.
Terry, this is a significant decision by one of the largest employers in the country. Kroger employs about 500,000 people, and they are now saying if you are unvaccinated, you are not going to be entitled to paid emergency leave, and you'll have to pay a $50 monthly surcharge on your health care premiums because you're unvaccinated. Now, for vaccinated employees, you'll continue to get that paid emergency leave, and the company will continue to offer all employees $100 who choose to get vaccinated. But this is a significant move because it's a big company. It can send ripple effects throughout the industry. And more importantly, it sends a signal to employees, in particular the unvaccinated. One of the concerns among analysts who look at this is they're concerned that unvaccinated employees will show up to work if they're not going to be paid to sit it out while they have COVID. Terry?
Rebecca Jarvis, thanks on the challenges of dealing with employees, vaccinated, unvaccinated, trying to figure out the right way to go. We're going to take a break. Coming up, President Biden has arrived in hard-hit Kentucky, where he will tour the damage there following that deadly tornado outbreak over the weekend. Our team is on the ground with the latest after the break. Welcome back to ABC News Live. President Biden has landed in Kentucky, where he will tour the devastation there following those deadly tornadoes. The number of people unaccounted for is now over 120. But as the dust settles, we're seeing acts of good faith and goodwill between strangers. ABC's Ike Ejachi is in Mayfield, Kentucky for us. Hi, Ike.
Terry, this community here, they are still reeling. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear says his state now is in a rescue and recovery mission. 74 Kentuckians have lost their lives, with 88 people dead across 5 states. 122 Kentuckians are still unaccounted for, and 1,800 families have already filed for FEMA disaster assistance. Now, the state cleanup crews, they've been here all morning in the past couple of days, clearing the roads, doing whatever they can. But in terms of power, 24,000 people are still reporting having no power whatsoever. But listen, there's still a silver lining. If you walk through these streets, you'll see cars coming in from every single direction, packed with volunteers ready to do whatever they can, from cleaning the streets themselves to offering food to whoever needs a meal. Now, I met one particular individual. His name is Jeff. He's traveled hundreds of miles here just to see if he can help out. Why? Because he knows a situation like this all too much. You see, Jeff, he's from Joplin, Missouri, and over 10 years ago, he too was in a similar situation. That's when that EF5 tornado ripped through his town and claimed the lives of 161 individuals altogether. Now, he was almost an individual that lost his own life, but he managed to make it out safely along with his wife. After coming out of the rubble from his home, he realized that as soon as that storm passed off, hundreds of volunteers started coming into his own city from all over the country. They were doing everything from handing out food, similar to the things you see here. Now, when he went online and he saw the images here in Mayfield, he looked at his wife and he felt like he needed to do something. So he closed down his restaurant, packed up his food truck, and said he was going to make his way here to feed as many people as he can. Now, before he left, he made a post on social media telling his community what he was going to do, and that's when that generosity from those Joplin residents started to come in. Everybody started giving him everything to come here to Mayfield, whether it's money, gift card, clothes, food, anything to feed the people here. Even one special person who decided to give him a very special gift. Take a listen.
There was a little girl that came into our store yesterday, and her parents had bought her a brand new pair of Converse shoes. And she said instead of her keeping them, she was going to donate them to some family up here that needed them. They volunteered, they stayed there for months, and I just kind of felt like this is Joplin's time to pay that back, and Joplin stepped up.
How about that, huh? Now, President Biden, he's going to survey the damage himself and speak to Kentuckians to hopefully give them some words of encouragement. Terry?
Ike Ejachi, thank you very much for those stories of goodwill and good deeds in a tough time. And as we mentioned, President Biden, as Ike mentioned, President Biden has landed in Kentucky. He will deliver his remarks this afternoon, and we will bring that to you live when it happens. And coming up, our friend and colleague Diane Macedo is back with more secrets of shut-eye for all of the insomniacs out there. What steps she takes to get a good night's sleep. She's studied it. She's going to give us the answers when we come back. Welcome back. Sleep is something so many people struggle with, but our own ABC News Live anchor Diane Macedo has done a deep dive for all of the insomniacs out there right here, sharing how she overcame her own sleep struggles. Her new book, The Sleep Fix, it's called, aims to help others solve their sleep issues. Today we're looking at what Diane does each day to help aid her own sleep. We're going to talk to her live in just a moment, but first take a look.
Good morning. It is about 6:25 a.m. and I am up before my alarm clock, which is the norm for me, even though I'm a night owl, because I wake up at the same time every day. With a little bit of wiggle room, but pretty much same time every day, even on weekends. And here's what happens if I don't wake up on my own. What's that, babe? What'd you say?
I want to get out.
You want to get out? Why?
Because I'm hungry.
You're hungry?
Yeah.
Okay, shall we feed you?
Yeah.
Should I feed you breakfast?
Yeah, because I'm hungry.
Can't blame him. My other alarm clock. Breakfast time now. I have about a 2-minute window where my son just left to school and my daughter's about to wake up. So I am grabbing my protein-heavy breakfast because even though you might think it's better to have carbs earlier in the day so you can burn them off before bed, sleep experts actually say if you have trouble sleeping, it's better to eat protein earlier in the day and have complex carbs later in the day because protein will help you build up tryptophan in the body, and then carbs actually help to release that tryptophan to the brain, which helps you feel good and helps you feel drowsy. Now it's time for hair and makeup, and you might notice the light therapy lamp here. I use this when I brush my teeth first thing in the morning and wash my face, and then I turn it back on when I'm doing my hair and makeup. And all it's doing is mimicking the sunlight and telling my brain that it's time to be awake. And if you're someone who struggles to fall asleep early and struggles to wake up early, this is one of the most powerful things you can do to help ensure that you start getting wake signals at the right time, but also start getting sleep signals at the right time. And yes, mine is mounted on 2 rolls of toilet paper and a tissue box. Don't judge me. All right, time for a little caffeine now. It's late morning, and this is an energy drink that I like. Now, I don't have this every day. I just kind of use it when I feel like I need a boost. But I wanted to show you that, one, most people will not have to quit caffeine in order to address their sleep issues. And 2, if you are gonna have caffeine, because of the way caffeine works, it's actually more effective a little bit after, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, or however long you can wait after you wake up, rather than drinking it first thing in the morning. It is evening time now, and what are we doing?
Watching Wreck-It Ralph.
We're watching Wreck-It Ralph. And even though you might hear a lot about screens and how bad they are for your sleep, most sleep clinicians actually tell me that watching screens is fine, particularly if you're watching TV because you're far away from the screen. And if I start using my phone or use some other screens, then I will often take some other measures to help me out there, like lowering the brightness on the screen, lowering the blue light levels on the screen, or turning the screen black and white so that it's not so addictive, so I don't end up scrolling and scrolling for Instagram for hours. And so that's how I use screen time in the evening without having it harm my sleep, and so far so good. So I'm about to brush my teeth, and this is the light in my bathroom right now. It's just a night light, and it basically means that I can brush my teeth or get ready, do anything else that I need to do without turning this bright thing on, which will wake me up. Oh, yawning. And there you have it. This is the last part of my day. Baby snuggles and bedtime. And listen, I might not get a great night's sleep tonight, but chances are if that happens, it'll be because this little lady needs me, not because I can't sleep. Sweet dreams.
What a sweetie, and what great tips there. Diane joins me now. So, Diane, I'm going to go get the light, first of all, if that helps a lot. But let me just broaden it out. I've heard you say the first step to fixing your sleep problems, if you got them, is find out what's keeping you awake. So what, in your case, what was keeping you awake?
It is key, and in my case, I knew that one of the things keeping me awake was my circadian rhythm, and that just meant that I was trying to sleep because of my work schedule. I was trying to sleep when my body wanted to be awake, and I was trying to be awake when my body naturally wanted to be asleep. And it's like having jet lag, only you're jet lagged all the time. And this doesn't just apply to shift workers. If you're a night owl who has normal hours, you probably struggle with this. And if you're a very early morning-oriented person and you have an evening shift, the same thing can happen, just in the other direction. So there are things you can do, obviously, to address that problem if that is what's keeping you awake.
And that raises the question, so how do you diagnose what is keeping you awake? How do you know?
I mean, the best way, obviously, you see a sleep specialist, et cetera. But a really good indication that this is your problem is if you have trouble sleeping during the week, but then you sleep fine on weekends when you can do it on your schedule. That's a good sign that it's your circadian rhythm that's keeping you awake. And we can often fall into a pattern where
we enjoy those later hours, because for most of us, later hours on the weekends. And then come Sunday, we have a really hard time falling asleep again, because our body has now adjusted to where our natural rhythm wants to be. And so we spend the whole week kind of jet lagged, catching back up with where our work schedule demands we sleep, only to hit the weekend again and do it all over again. And so you can get into this pattern of what sleep scientists call social jet lag.
That's what you call it. I now know what to call the way I feel half the time. So a lot of us can't identify with these issues. What are some top tips for this to help us out?
Well, you actually saw some of them there in my routine. You know, try to wake up at roughly the same time on weekends as you do during the week. And you don't have to be a drill sergeant about it, but ideally, if you can keep it within 45 minutes, your wake-up times on the weekday and weekends, that's the best. Using bright light exposure at times that you need help feeling awake can be huge. And for most people, this will be first thing in the morning, because most people need help waking up early. So for people who struggle with waking up too early, you'll want to use that bright light in the evening. But for most of us, first thing in the morning, that bright light, like you see there, is huge. And then using darkness or limited light at the right times. Anytime you want your brain to get the memo that it's time to sleep or time to prepare for sleep. So again, for most people, this will be in the 4 to 5 hours leading up to your bedtime. Hence, you see that I have a night light in my bathroom instead of turning on that bright overhead light. I keep the lights in my living room dim, particularly if I'm watching TV, or off. And I dim my phone screen and dim that blue light, or put that blue light filter on. And I also, we didn't see this in the video, but I also have blackout shades in my room. Anything to sort of let your brain get the memo. It's nighttime, it's time to sleep. But again, for someone who struggles with waking up too early, this will apply to your morning time instead. When you wake up too early, you want to stay in dim light to help tell your brain it's not wake up time, it's still sleep time.
And Diane, what do you think? We've been told by some you should just banish screens altogether after a certain hour. You shouldn't really get that blue light that we're always looking at during the course of the day, and that will fix the sleep issues that you might have. What do you make of that?
So if you do that and you feel good about that and that makes you feel more relaxed and it's working for you, by all means. But a lot of people, sleep clinicians tell me that when they see their patients, often patients will come to them saying, you know, I'm doing all the right things. I quit caffeine, I quit screen time, and I still can't sleep. And the problem is, for some of us, you know, screens are how we unwind at night. And when we try to remove those screens from our routine, we fill that time by thinking and worrying more about our sleep. And those thoughts and worries can actually be far more harmful for your sleep than the screen time itself, which is why I wanted to give people the tools in this book that if that is the case and cutting out screen time did not help your sleep, here are some other things you can do to mitigate the negative impacts, including a few tricks on how to put the actual phone down so you don't get sucked into that rabbit hole where you're scrolling and scrolling past your bedtime.
I make sure that I always pick up a book. I'll put the phone down, read a few pages until the words start swimming around in front of my eyes, and that's when I know I'm ready to sleep. So that's a little trick. Well,
I've got a great book that'll help you do that, Terry.
That's it. That's it. Thanks, Diane. And the Sleep Fix is out now, and Diane will be back tomorrow to talk about the other thing that was keeping her awake, insomnia. So I'm Terry Moran, and the news will continue on ABC News Live with context and analysis right after this break.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.